Hi, everybody. Welcome to Goshen Prepping. We're heading into violent times. I mean, in reality, we're already there. Things are not how they used to be. So there's certain things we want to do to be able to de-escalate the attack situation. You want to make it so, obviously, you don't have somebody attack you. And it's actually a lot easier than you think it is, by the way. So sit back, take some notes, go through this video, and I want you to see that there are ways to basically stop the fight before it even happens. Number one, don't go there. And this is actually really surprising to some people because it's human nature to stop and stare. Or some people have like this Superman effect. I'm like this sometimes, where you want to get involved. You want to get in the situation. Maybe you're coming to the aid of somebody who is basically being attacked. In reality, I mean, it may take your life. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, protect people. You should, obviously. But you have to be really careful because people get violent. And maybe that one person they're arguing with or fighting with is not going to get violent with them. But with you, you're some stranger butting in. And that's why domestic violence calls for police officers are some of the most dangerous calls they're put on, because they will literally come back and attack you for basically butting into their business. But it comes down to, in reality, situational awareness. We talk about this all the time. You want to be able to always watch everything that's going on. You don't need to pay attention to every single person. When I'm walking through the store, for example, I literally look at, as I walk through the store, every single person as I pass them. 99% of them are in their phone or on their shopping list or pulling off a loaf of bread or whatever the case. It doesn't have to be a store, obviously. But it's only that 1%. That 1% are other people also doing situational awareness. And your eyes look at each other like, are you okay? And they're like, are you okay? Do not. They walk off. Everything's good. But you can tell when somebody's about to do something dangerous. Their eyes get shifty. Sometimes they don't even see you, by the way, but they're looking around, seeing what's going on. Sometimes they literally have this look of fear in their eyes because sometimes they feel like the action they're about to take, they don't really want to do it, but they feel like they have no choice. So always be looking around, and don't obviously be on your phone just walking around. Or even worse, there is an altercation, get your phone out and take a video. That's a really bad situation. So stay away from those areas specifically. Don't go down the metaphorical dark alleys. You want to make sure that you always go to areas that's going to be safe. And this especially, obviously, is very true when it comes to having children with you, or maybe elderly. Having somebody like that, you need to be even extra vigilant and extra aware because obviously people will take advantage of kids too. When I'm always looking around, sometimes I'll catch some guy looking at my daughter. And I'm not talking about like Naomi or Hannah who are adults. We're talking like a 10-year-old daughter. I'll be like, then they see me and they're like, oh, I'm busted. And this is not a situational awareness where they're looking around. You know what I'm saying? There obviously are some creepos out there. Let me tell you what a mama fox does. I don't know if you know this, but if you ever come across a fox den and there's a mama with some babies in that den, as humans, we try to hide in the den to protect the babies. That's what we do instinctively. But that's not what a mama fox does. A mama fox will literally put herself in a situation where she'll jump out of the den. And instead of just running away, she'll stop and look at you. So be like, oh, look, there's a fox. And let's say I'm a predator. You go after the fox. She'll purposely run and lead you away from that den. It's important to do this because if you have like people following you, which I'll talk about that in a minute, you want to be in a situation where you're going to lead them away from the people who are more vulnerable in your party, like kids, for example. So in those situations, you want to make sure that you keep everybody away from your family, protect your family. And you know what? I know there's times you need to run. And there's also times to be confident too, and we'll talk about that in a second. So stop and save your family and then keep going. Number two, be unpredictable. And in this case, we're not necessarily talking about that metaphorical dark alley not to go down. I mean, stay away from that, but even just unpredictable as far as your whole patterns go. Everything in your everyday life, by the way. If a criminal wants to do something, like even the very simplest, we're not talking about crap hits the fan here, but like wants to steal your purse or your backpack, the first time you go by, they'll be like, oh, look, I like that backpack they're carrying there. I bet it's full of something good. Then the next day they come by about the same time. It's not like they'll usually keep watch. Oh, 9:15, they'll be back again. But about the same time every day, there you are walking by with that same backpack or purse. Maybe you're carrying the bag by the handle, which is really easy to snag. And so since you are not being unpredictable, since you're being very predictable, they can easily take advantage of the situation. So make sure in those situations you really try to, maybe it's your coffee shop you go to every day when they see you. Try a couple different coffee shops. One day go to this one day go here, one day bring it from home. I mean, every day bring it from home, mind you. Okay, maybe don't do it at 8:15 in the morning every single day, but try to have your patterns completely change. So the biggest thing is it's not simply just to keep them guessing. It's so they really don't see you overall, because understand, the reason he noticed you in your bag in the first place is because he saw you one day. The next day he'll be like, oh, person didn't show up. Third day, oh. Maybe later on, they'll be like, oh, there's that person again. But it gets more difficult because they don't really understand what pattern to be able to try to subdue you to take your bag. But it's not even simply just for evasion purposes like this, but also fighting. If you do like the metaphorical, come on, let's go ahead and put up our dukes, and you want to fight somebody, it's very easy for them because it's right here in the front. When you throw a punch, you want to go right to the front. Sure, I get that. But if you're unpredictable and even playing dirty, you stand a much better chance, because that way you don't even have to be a fighter per se. Throw dirt in their eyes, or really try to go for vulnerable parts of the body rather than simply do the conventional fighting, which a lot of people do. But just understand, and this is something you really need to adhere to, anything and everything can become a weapon. You just need to improvise and use those weapons on that attacker. Number 3, they are following you. So you've done what you can to try to not go in those bad situations, and now you are, and somebody's following you, or even worse, maybe like a group of people are following you. It's too late. You're on their radar, and off they go. There's things you can do, first off, to see if they're following you, like maybe you cross the street, and they'll cross the street too, or you go around a corner, them as well. Even double back, that definitely is a clear sign that they're following you. But do it in a way so they literally have trouble following you. Like, for example, you're walking down the street, you see them following you, you run across the street, but maybe you do it, time it just right. And I really mean it, time it. You don't want to get hit by a bus, but a bus is coming, run in front of the bus. Don't get hit. And then the bus goes past. It lets you go. It was enough basically for you to take off, but now the group gets stopped for maybe just a few seconds. That few seconds may be all you need, by the way. But even more so, it's definitely going to corroborate for the fact that they are chasing you and you can get away. Or you know what? People will do this. I mean, they always try to stay on a certain line. Don't do that. Going offline is the best way. But let's say you're standing on a sidewalk or walking on the sidewalk, they're following you. Stop and make your stand on the sidewalk. That is really a bad move, because they're following you for a reason. Obviously, they're not afraid of you in the first place. If you're going to make a stand, you need to be sneaky about it. So let's say you find a metal bar standing on the sidewalk. You better back off of that metal bar. That's a sign of a coward brandishing this metal bar, saying, you better get back. They won't believe you. So instead, when you grab that metal bar, keep walking, maybe run around a corner. And when they come around the corner, bash them with the metal bar. You always want to have the sneak attack. There's no rules in this. You want to make sure you do whatever you can to subdue them, to make it so it stops immediately. Use that element of surprise. Okay? Anything that you can find, again, improvise as a weapon. But then ultimately your goal is this. Any type of lights, any type of noise, any type of sounds, any type of crowds, that's the direction you should be going to. You always want to go where there's a public place. Crowds are great for this. They will back off very quickly once they see you go into a crowd. So head for that area. The criminals will just think it's too much of a risk. They'll almost always conceivably back off. Number 4, withdraw. Okay, so now you're in a situation where they're not following or chasing you, etc. They're right there on the street in front of you. This is like the worst case scenario. There's an attacker right in front of you, standing in your face. And who knows why he's there? Maybe to rob you, and maybe to subdue you, maybe just he knows you, whatever the case may be. There are certain things you want to do to protect yourself, not only to protect yourself physically, but legally as well. Because understand that the way the law works, the true definition of self-defense, by the way, is I did everything I could to try to get away from this person. They kept pursuing me. So your first thing you want to do is have the upper hand by withdrawing away. Back away. Say, you know what, I'm sorry, back away, back away, back away. And that way, if they do attack you, you go to court. Let's say this is not crap as the fan, but you go to court and they're going to say, well, you guys got into a fight. It was a mutual thing. No, look, I backed away. I tried to say, you know what, I don't want to be part of this. And you try to back away and they attacked me. Legally, that's a good thing too. But understand, it's not always just a legally thing, but you want to save your hide. And the thing is, when it comes to you being in that situation where there's an attacker in the first place, it really is curiosity killed the cat. If you see a situation, you don't want to have to withdraw. You want to not be there in the first place. You want to be gone, take off. And it amazes me. It's a human nature thing. People just stop and stare. This is a danger area. You need to get out of there right away. But understand that if you're there and you're in their face, it's already too late for that. And you need to make sure you're out of that situation. So the last thing you ever want to do is, before it escalates, is get into an argument. You really don't even want to say anything to them unless it is something apologetic. This is no time to have an ego. This is no time to basically show who's best. It's not like that at all. You don't want to actually have some kind of mixed words going towards them. And a lot of times if you withdraw, they're good to go. And they'll often say things like right now, if you don't get out of here, I'm going to fill in the blank. Use that as an example, because understand, when they say words like that, that usually means they don't want to fight you. They're so mad that, they're trying to restrain themselves. If you don't leave right now, I'm sorry, sir. walk away. They may still be mad. There's a possibility they may still come after you. And you can defend yourself, by the way. If you walk away and they attack you, you defend yourself. But at least legally speaking, at that situation, you'll say, look, I tried to walk away. They told me they're so mad to walk away. They did. But they still pursued me. Number 5, don't save face. So back to those commands they'll give you. If you don't leave right now, I'm going to fill in the blank. So leave. If you don't shut up right now, it's time to shut up. If you don't get in your car and get out of here right now, it's time to get in your car. Because in those situations, and hopefully you're not like this. Hopefully you're not a hothead. There's been times in my life I may have been accused of doing this, especially when it comes to fighting, but it really is the best situation is to comply with that. Because guess what? What people do is this. They'll say, you know what? If you don't get out of here right now, I'm going to bleep. People have to have that last word. Oh my gosh, I get this on the channel all the time. People get mad at something I say. Instead of like being an adult. By the way, you're an adult when you do this. I don't like the way Goshen prepping is, so I'm just going to unsubscribe. Oh no. Of course, they do this because they're hidden behind a screen, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people are cowards. I hate the way you did this and this, so bye. I unsubscribe. Well, you can just unsubscribe and leave. Not everybody has to get along. But in this situation, understand it's even more so. Because if they come up to you and say, if you don't get out here right now, I'm going to beep, beep, and now you walk away 15 steps and you turn around and say, oh yeah, well, you're a beep, 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 and you start fighting back. It's something about pride or not having humility or saving face or something. Don't save face. Don't feel like you need to put yourself in a situation. Just be the adult and walk away. Be the adult and walk away. Because if one person wants to attack you, they're so mad, they're not being an adult. But once you start fighting back with them, even verbally, you're just as bad. You just need to leave. Because understand that, in reality, when you see these situations, and we're not talking about somebody trying to mug you, but there's just a confrontation, 90% of them can be easily resolved. But I'll tell you right now, if you start saying those words like, you know what, well, you did this first, and I can't stand your uncle, or whatever, those words, you throw little zingers and stuff at it, 90% of the time, that's going to end up becoming a lot worse. And there's no self-defense either, too, by the way, in this situation, because you go to court. Well, I tried to walk away. Well, that's true, Your Honor. He started walking away, then he turned around and insulted my uncle and everything that stuff. They're going to look at it as this is not self-defense. This is a fight. You went to fight them. So you need to save your face. You need to, you know what, don't worry about any self-doubt and all this stuff. Just whatever is done, you just need to be over with it. Because what happens is, in that situation, even if you do save face, the next few days you're going to go home and say, that guy took my pride. You don't say that, but in your mind, you're like, he took my pride, and I just feel awful about this. I'd rather go home and feel awful than go to the hospital by not doing that in the first place. So don't say any words. Just walk away. The reason they're saying those things, they want you gone in the first place. Just de-escalate it and keep going. Number 6, apologize. Apologies go a long way. I'm not saying it's going to completely diffuse that situation. If the person is so angry with you about something, the apologies won't stop him from being angry, but it may stop him enough to not take action on that anger. Because people do have, and the reason he didn't punch you in the first place because he's so mad is because he is restraining himself. And so if you apologize, the restraining himself just got a little bit easier, and there's an excellent chance he's not going to clobber you. But understand, when it comes to these actions, there's 2 reasons people attack you. Either there's a personal reason or something else. And personal, I mean, you just made it more personal if you said something to him like, I know you cut me off, but you are ugly and your uncle drives a Volvo or whatever. You say that kind of thing. And they take it personal, that's going to make it even worse. So don't even go there. But even more so, you need to go the opposite and apologize to them. Or there's a sales technique. I'm not a sales kind of person. I don't like sales at all. But they look for what's called a red thread. I'm here to sell you this vacation package. Oh, by the way, that's a really nice Volvo you have in the driveway. I love Volvos. This is the safest car. And they look for that red thread to get you to trust them more. And it's like this when people get really mad at you. So they get really hot-headed and angry. They want to beat the snot out of you. Look, sir, I'm really sorry, really sorry. Listen, in reality, I apologize. I did that. You and I are a lot alike. I can't stand, these hot days. It makes me really ticked off too. Whatever. Look for something that makes it so they can actually relate with you. And again, it may not make them not angry anymore, but at least it's going to make it so he may not attack you. So just find ways to make it so you make it more personal, and that way when you apologize, it actually helps out quite a bit. Again, it may not stop them from trying to fight you. It definitely won't take them away from being angry, but it may lessen the whole situation just a little bit. Number 7, don't be a target. And this is really simple, by the way. If you have something of value, don't show that value. I mean, I always teach my kids, they have a few bucks. Can I take my money to the store, Dad? Sure. Why don't you take the money? I want you to always save it for something you want to buy. Just don't buy it on junk. But as they're walking to the store, they pull out their $5. Look what I got, everybody. I've seen adults do this too. Keep it hidden, keep it concealed. Anything valuable, by the way. And of course, we don't even talk about just situational awareness, but gray man too. You don't want to go into a situation where everybody's kind of like thug looking and trying to survive, and you come in with your beautiful flashy clothes and your incredible shoes and stuff, and you strut through there. You're going to stand out like a sore thumb and become a target. You want to make sure you're always basically being a gray man so they don't see you. Even dirty yourself up. Get a little dirty, maybe even smelly. It's really weird when people smell, even people don't want to attack them. They don't even want to touch them. It's kind of really weird. But whatever people are doing in a local area, you need to become that local too. Stay just like them. All right. So they start chasing you. Now this is the following part we talked about. It's already too late. You need to be confident and now look with intensity, because gray man's all about not drawing attention, but now you've drawn attention somehow. They're coming after you. You need to be confident and be ready to grab your weapon. Don't grab the weapon. Don't even put your hand towards it right away, because you're telling them where it's at. And also now you're what's called brandishing. And we're not talking about legally wise. It simply just makes it where you pull the weapon out. You better get back. Sometimes, I mean, if that's the last resort, do it. But it's always better to have a surprise attack with that weapon rather than simply showing them what you have. And number 8, you are attacked. And here you go. It's come to blows. What do? When it comes to survival, attacks really should be looked at in 3 different phases. The first, you have to be able to deal with a blow, because sometimes it's a sucker punch. Maybe they'll do it. You don't even know it's even coming. Or if you do see it coming, you haven't been trained and you get nailed in the face. The first thing is you need to be able to take that attack. If you can deflect it, if you can like evade it and step back, those techniques work very well, by the way. If you practice them, it's amazing. It'll actually get that first blow slower, because most people, almost everybody who fights, they will fight, throw a punch or two, then they'll stop. It's only like trained fighters will punch, and move in, punch. And so therefore you can evade the first couple. You've probably made it past the first part, and you're going to keep surviving on this too. Some people get so mad. Again, when you make it personal, that's why I said don't throw insults. Then they basically, crimes of passion, it's like a whole different story. They just go ballistic on you. So somehow take that attack, evade from it. Then secondly, you need to somehow take out their base. I mean, if you know how to do a leg sweep, it's actually really easy if you simply just take your bottom of your foot and kick them in the side of the knee. It takes off their balance. And do what we do in Krav Maga, a violent counterattack. And again, use any weapon you have. You bash the living snot out of them, because remember, they attacked you first, and then run. You need to get out of there very quickly. But even if it does come to fighting and blows, 60 seconds is the rule, by the way. If you can survive at 60 seconds, odds are they'll give up on you, whatever the case may be. But I'll say it again, if it's personal, don't bet on that, because personal attacks are totally different. So don't ever try to get in a situation where you personally attack someone, with words. They actually will sting even more than punches will. Now, one last thing. If you have multiple people attacking you, you should consider fighting multiple people and actually train for multiple attackers. We do. But a lot of times you don't even need to. 3 thug type dudes are heading your way. There's always the head thug, always the head attacker. That's the one you really need to focus on. And I'm not saying the other 2 won't fight. They know how to fight too, but the reason they're following the head one is because the head one gives them more confidence. So you take out that head one quick and fast, the other 2 will either cave and run away, or they'll stand there like, what do we do next? And you can say, are you guys next? Come on. Or, you know what, I didn't want to do this in the first place, but I will take you guys next. Whatever the case may be, they're going to be far less than the threat. So don't get scared about crowds coming after you. It's not the crowd you have to go with, practically speaking. It's the head guy. That's the main one you have to worry about. Maybe 2 head guys at that point. But either way, you need to be able to just go crazy. Don't stop fighting. Keep going. More than likely to back off, but you know what? If you keep going, it's going to help it out. All right. Long, lengthy video today, guys. I love to show a lot of the stuff on the map, but there's so much information here, and hopefully you took notes on this, because when it comes to attacks and stuff, don't take it personal. Don't get in personal arguments with someone. It just makes them more angry, because that angry will develop adrenaline, and then they'll go crazy. I do this all the time in sparring. If you get yourself mad at the person, you'll do much better. Or sometimes I will kick someone, and they get so mad that I kick them, that they get so angry, then I'll lose the match because they go nuts. Because it's not about fighting, it's about de-escalating the anger, not the actual fight itself. All right, guys, comments below. Tell me what you've done. Maybe you've actually been in a situation like this, and de-escalation was the key. Thanks for watching, as always, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.